Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We are so excited to have you here today to learn more about automated post-processing. I'm Rachel Ballard, and our panelist today is Cody Cooper. During the webinar, we're going to go over best practices, show live demos, and let you in on what customers think about B9 Creation's automated post-processing solutions. If you have any questions, feel free to submit them in the Q&A box, and we will answer them at the end. B9 Creation's differentiated approach to solving problems with 3D printing has developed a fan base in a wide variety of industries, including jewelry, medical, aerospace, and beyond. This has positioned us to enable our customers to progress from prototyping to fully scaled production, leveraging additive manufacturing. You can see here our global network in nearly 70 countries around the world. While we're headquartered here in South Dakota in the US, we also have offices in Denver and in Dallas, Texas, as well as strategic partners and dealers across the globe. Here is a sampling of our customer base across different industries, from healthcare and aerospace to consumer tech, research, jewelry manufacturing, as well as our new custom division called B9X, where we develop tailored additive solutions specific to customer needs. Now I'm going to go over a quick overview of our digital manufacturing workflow. From CAD, your model will go directly into our fast technology powered by B9 Create 2.0, which is our CAM software where you can support and orient your models. Once you've transferred your model to the printer via USB or Wi-Fi, you're ready to print using a variety of different materials tailored to your application. And this is where our push button technology comes into play. Our printers are out of the box and printing in about 15 minutes, and the entire system is very easy to use. The printer you see here is our Core XL 3D printer with its compatible fast VAT. Once your part is finished printing, it'll move into post-processing with automated cleaning in the B9 Clean, where models can be transferred directly from your Core Series 3D printer while still on the build platform or as loose models. And from there, it moves into curing in the B9 Model Cure. The Model Cure shown in this video is our newer XL version. All right, and now I'm going to kick it off to Cody, who's going to go over support removal.
Thanks, Rachel. So, hi, everybody. Yeah, we're going to delve into support removal here. So, some of the dependent factors about support removal are going to be the resin or material that you're printing with, and then the model's geometry. And then based on those decisions you made, now it's whether or not you decide to remove the supports pre or post cure. What that means is that some of the materials themselves and the geometries that you're printing with can be more fragile than others. So it's always best to know which or on which end of curing to remove those supports. I'd say for more fragile and softer resins, so fragile pieces and softer resins, you want to remove supports pre-cure. The reason for this is that the resin in this green state that we call it, that pre-cured state, is going to be a little bit more flexible and have a more give when removing supports. So that way you can get all those fragile pieces taken care of, and then once you post-cure it, a lot of the sturdier objects will withstand the support removal better in that post-cure state. So now I actually have a few sample pieces that I'm going to show some methods of removal using the clippers provided in the accessory kit and the tweezers as well. So the first one I'm going to show is actually going to be one of those sturdier pieces that I have cured beforehand. So this is just a little sturdy piece here. It's got some supports on the bottom as well as a foundation. For stuff like this, where it's nice and sturdy, there's not a lot of fragile parts going on between the supports and the part itself. I'm just going to twist and break off some of those supports. So upon twisting and breaking, looks like that. Now there's going to be support scarring here, but based on the design, I may have some other post-processing to sand that off or what have you. But yeah, sturdy parts are very easy. Now, in terms of something that's a little more fragile, I've got a piece like this. So there's this large foundation as well as all of these supports holding this a little more flimsy of a structure. So the popular method that I use on this is you're going to use your clippers and you're going to snip the foundation. And this is allowing you to separate the supports from themselves, like support bases from themselves. The reason I'm doing this is so that when I remove them with the tweezers, they actually come off a lot easier if it's a single support as opposed to removing a large chunk that can possibly damage the part. So you can see I've made cuts around the foundation. I'm now going to start plucking those portions off and then trying to separate those supports a bit more. So again, make clipping, and then I can remove like so. Twist and pull method works best for these supports. You can use the fingers or the tweezers here, and you can pluck those off. Good to go. So I would continue doing this to remove all these supports. That being said, for the purpose of this webinar, we're going to halt right there. But I'd be happy to take any more questions at the end of this as well. So feel free to type those in. Lastly, I just have a few tips. So knowing the intended part that you're printing is extremely important. So if you have a print technician on the back end that doesn't know what this part is supposed to look like, very important that they do. So that way they can assess whether or not it has printed successfully and what things to change in the future. And along with that, assessing print failures and adjusting those for subsequent prints is going to be very important for print success. If it's something you're trying new for the first time, definitely take a look at that print on the back end to see what adjustments need to be made in their software portion. That's all I got for support removal. Rachel, back to you, and I believe we have a video.
All right, during this video, Cody is going to give a demo of our automated post-processing solutions, as well as share some of the highlighted features of the B9 Clean, the B9 Model Cure, and the Model Cure XL.
Once the part has finished printing, I'm going to be able to take that out of the printer here and start the post-processing. So we're going to open the lid here, and I'm going to pull this build table out just by loosening the thumb screw here, pulling it out of the printer. I'm going to turn it upside down immediately, and this is because the solid model underneath is going to be covered in a liquid plastic, all the liquid resin, and I don't want that getting everywhere, so by flipping it upside down, it's going to just stay around this build table here. Next, I'm going to move it quickly over to my B9 Clean unit, and I'm going to first flip this lid over and place the build table on this build arm. Now this build arm is similarly shaped to the build arm that's in the printer, so I can fit that snug on there and then rotate around. Now before I start the clean unit here, I'm going to talk through the components that make up the B9 Clean unit. So we have this solid base that offers all the selections that you can make in terms of clean time, clean speed in terms of the agitation that occurs. We'll delve into a bit of what that means later. And then the start button. You also have this external container that houses the isopropyl that's going to be cleaning your parts. For that, we do recommend isopropyl 99%. That's just going to degrade the liquid resin a lot better than any lower percentage of isopropyl will do so. On this external container, there's also two fill lines. There's a max and min up above and a max and min on the bottom. So what this actually means is that you can use more or less isopropyl depending on your needs. So isopropyl can be expensive. If you choose to use less and you have actually a lower height models typically that you're going to be printing, you would fill at this lower portion, and you can actually swap out the arm on the back here. So if you're using less isopropyl, you actually need the longer arm that's offered, or that's comes included with the B9 Clean. That just lowers the build table to that level where that isopropyl is going to raise up and then clean your models. So remember, longer arm for less isopropyl and shorter models. Next, we have the internal container. This is just going to house the part, or your part, the build table, and it's going to temporarily fill with isopropyl. So it also holds the, there's a screen tray that I have available in there, or that comes with the Clean itself. That just prevents any parts from falling and interrupting the stir bar. There's also the magnetic stir bar, and that's what's agitating the isopropyl as it's cleaning. So that's where that speed of agitation comes into play. Finally, you have the lid here, and along with the lid you have that arm that you can then replace as necessary, and that's what the build table goes on. So now I'm going to go ahead and start this up just to show or explain what's happening. The isopropyl is going to begin filling the inner container there. For now, I'm actually going to turn this off so that way we can talk through this a bit more. But yeah, that isopropyl is going to fill up that inner container, and then after a few seconds, that stir bar is going to start agitating and cleaning your parts. All right, so once your part has been cleaned in the B9 Clean unit, we can then remove that from the build table using the black scraper that's offered in the accessory kit. To do so, you use like a shallow angle on the build table and pop it right off the table. Once I have it all prepped and ready for curing though, I'm going to place it into the Model Cure unit, the Model Cure XL as shown here. And before I place it in there, I'm actually going to go through a bit of the rundown on what's available here with the Model Cure unit. So first thing I want to show is the intensity. So on the furthest left button, the intensity is how intense that UV cure that's coming out of the lights inside the unit. So this can go from 1 to 16, 16 being the highest intensity. For most of our parts, and the way that we cure things, which is submerged in distilled water, you can leave it at that highest intensity. So I'll delve a bit into the curing in water in just a second here. The next portion is the duty cycle. So this is actually whether or not the lights are flashing or constantly on. So you can go from 1 to 10 there. I'm actually going to turn mine all the way up to 10. What this does is that 10 is going to be constantly on. There's no flashing, but if you, for any reason, needed to, or had a specific material that you needed to slow down the cure and use the flashing, some translucent or transparent resins respond better to a lower duty cycle. Next thing is the timer. So in this you can go anywhere from, I believe it's 1 minute to 30 minutes on here. So you can adjust the timer just using the plus and minus keys, and that's what I've been doing to adjust the duty cycle and the intensity there. We also have the start and stop button as well. This last button on the right is actually a power saving mode, so I can turn that off to save power. Over a certain amount of time, it's actually going to go into that sleep mode regardless, but there's that. Next thing, you actually have the door that you can open up, and we also include a clear cure bin as well as a little tab to help pull that out. And we're using distilled water in here for curing. Now, I brought this up earlier. The distilled water does two things. One, it's insulating your parts from the intensity of the cure. When your part is being cured via that UV radiation, it's going to have a chemical reaction that actually generates a lot of heat. So the water kind of cools that down as it's going on. The next thing is that our resin doesn't like to be cured when it's in contact with oxygen. Oxygen inhibits proper cure with the chemical makeup of these parts. So I want to submerge it completely in distilled water, and that is getting rid of any air that's holding on to the part there, and that leaves it for better and more consistent cure. So I'm going to place this model in here and submerge it in that water. We'll push it back there and close up the door. So now I'm going to be able to start the B9 Model Cure XL, and I'll turn it on for a second, but turn it off just to explain a few more things. So turn it on, and you can see the timer's going down. I'll go ahead and stop for now, but you can see that, yeah, it's holding your place in terms of the cure. This is going to aid in terms of bringing up your end models up to their material properties that we assure you. So by curing the recommended amount, you can achieve those material properties. Now, speaking about recommended amount, with the B9 Model Cure XL, you're also going to get a quick start guide that has suggestions on times, intensities, duty cycles, as well as various volumes of your parts and the resins associated with that. For recommended cure times, you can check out our website at www.b9c.com/cure-times, and that's going to have a list of all the times, intensities, and resins that are recommended by B9 Creations.
The B9 Clean XL offers thorough, no-mess cleaning. What you see on the screen here are some highlighted features and benefits of using the B9 Clean. With the B9 Clean, you will not have to touch your model even once before it's printed, cleaned, and dried. Parts are clean and free of any excess resin in just about 10 minutes. The B9 Clean uses 75% less cleaning solution than other wash units. And with regular use, you can go 50 washes without having to replace your cleaning solution. So we have two versions of our curing unit, the B9 Model Cure and the B9 Model Cure XL, which is a larger multi-wavelength post-curing solution. The B9 Model Cure includes a smaller plastic container to cure models underwater. You can set the timer anywhere from 10 seconds to right about 10 minutes, and it has 3 memory settings, enabling a repeatable workflow, as well as a compact space-saving design. Our newer curing unit, the B9 Model Cure XL, you can adjust the light intensity and the duty or flash cycle. Its multi-wavelength capability means it's open to curing more materials. The B9 Model Cure XL includes a larger acrylic container with a 3D printed handle, and you can set the timer anywhere from 5 seconds all the way up to 30 minutes. We asked Mitch Rausch, who creates beautiful custom pieces at the Jeweler's Bench in Newton, Iowa, to let us know what he thinks about the B9 Clean. And this is what he had to say.
What's up, B9 fam? I'm Mitch. I work at the Jeweler's Bench. We're a small custom shop here in central Iowa. I just want to take a few minutes to tell you about what I like about this B9 Clean station. First thing I really like about it is the cleanliness of it. It's super clean. If you know about cleaning resin, it's a super messy ordeal. I just hate when it drips on the floor, drips in your sink. You're just constantly cleaning all the time. This machine takes the mess out of things. It just keeps your workstation very clean. I also like how efficient this machine is. We used to use the shaker cups to clean our resins, our 3D printed models. They're just messy, and then they typically don't do a good job. You gotta check your models, make sure there's no uncured resin left on them. Third reason I really like this machine is it's not wasting my time. I just sent my prints in there, press go, and walk away. I can spend my time making more money for my business instead of wasting it cleaning up my station. So overall, this machine, the B9 Clean Unit, has streamlined the process of cleaning prints. So it's cleaner, it's more efficient, and it's not wasting our time.
Right now, you can get one of our post-processing accessories with a bottle of resin for 25% off. You can choose between the B9 Clean XL, the B9 Model Cure, or the Model Cure XL and bundle it with a bottle of resin of your choice. You can learn more about this offer or purchase the bundle directly at shop.b9c.com/promos. And in the near future, we'll also be sending out the webinar recording as well as a link to this promo in our shop. And now we're going to take some time to answer the questions that were submitted throughout the webinar. So the first question, Cody, is why does the water in the curing unit have to be distilled?
All right, that's a great question. So that is actually just a recommendation from B9 Creations. You can cure it in tap water. The difference being that distilled water does not have any mineral deposits in it. So as tap water would evaporate, it's going to leave some calcium or mineral deposits on that clear box container in there. And that inhibits the amount of UV light that can go through that and cure your parts. So distilled water is just not going to do that, and that's what we recommend to use in your Q units. That being said, if you're keeping everything clean in there and replacing the water regularly, should be usable as well.
All right, and the next question is, on average, how long does it take to clean and cure a part?
Good question too. So it's also very dependent on the geometry that you're printing, depending on how many nooks and crannies that are in there, and depending on the resin as well that you're cleaning. So I'd say on average, most files are going to take about, especially in clean isopropyl in your clean unit, it's going to take about 5 to 10 minutes, and then once that's completely clean and all the isopropyl's blown off, that would be a good time to move to the cure unit. And again, depending on the size there, on average, I usually do 5 to 10 minutes on either side of the model. So that's a good round number for most cases, but it's going to depend on those other factors as well.
All right, and as there are other methods of curing your 3D printed models, like using a nail curing unit or simply leaving your models out in the sun to cure, what are the reasons for using the B9 Model Cure versus these other methods, and what are the benefits of doing so?
Great question too. So the reason for using our Model Cure is for one, it's made for this specific purpose for curing resins. You have a lot more variability in selection there than other forms of cure. You're getting a more consistent cure given the UV lights and the mirrors within the unit itself. If you're using something like a nail cure unit meant for curing painted nails there, that's going to lack the consistency or the variability that you can choose in terms of the amount of cure, the time, the intensity, even the wavelength is going to be slightly different. And then if you're using something like the sun to cure your parts, it's not going to do it in a very, very timely manner, and it'll lack consistency on the cures. So.
All right, and the next question, Cody, is how do you know when it's time to replace the cleaning solution in your B9 Clean? About how many uses can you go without needing to replace the ISO?
Again, variable or dependent on the geometry in terms of how much resin you have on your model before you put it in there and how much is getting degraded into the isopropyl. But good rule of thumb there is that if it's curing or cleaning for 2 10-minute cycles, so you've run it through one 10-minute cycle, another 10-minute cycle, and your parts are still not coming out clean, it's a good time to then replace that isopropyl. You want to dispose of it appropriately depending on your state's laws and restrictions there. And then you want to clean out the internal and external units of any of that leftover resin residue. So yeah, once you've done that, pour in the new isopropyl and good to start again.
All right, and the next one is, what are some tools that you should pair with the cleaning process?
That's a good one. So these are things that we use in-house in our manufacturing facility when we're doing sample prints or service bureau work. A big one is going to be an air station with a fume hood. So the idea being that you can blow off the isopropyl a lot quicker between the clean and cure cycle, just speeds things up. I also use the spray bottle that comes with the accessory kit. Fill that with a clean isopropyl alcohol, and you're spraying that in between, blowing off the saturated resin or saturated isopropyl there, and that just speeds up the process significantly. So yeah.
Thanks for answering those questions, Cody. At the end of this month, we will be launching a brand new 3D printer with a 385 nanometer light engine, as well as a clear companion resin called HD Clear. If you're interested in learning more about these products, keep an eye out during the next few weeks for an invite to the launch webinar. And if you have any questions, please feel free to contact us at the email address or at the phone number listed below. Thanks again, everyone, for joining us.